Hello and welcome to the Soulful Shift podcast. Whether you are listening to this on a podcast platform or on YouTube, welcome, welcome, welcome. Today's episode actually was first recorded on a LinkedIn Live. And in this episode today, you'll see it's a longer episode, but I'm going to dive deep into how do you actually land a promotion in today's world? Because the world isn't the same as it used to be. It's much, much different. Therefore, we have to show up differently. We have to be differently. There's different strategies and different things that are working now than they ever used to. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to how to land a promotion in today's world. If we haven't crossed paths before, my name is Andrea Horvath, and I was actually a CPA in the corporate world for over 20 years before I left to pursue this other part of my career, which is essentially mentoring and coaching other professional leaders get to the next level of their career, however that looks like for them. Now, I want to mention briefly everything I do, absolutely everything I do, is about coming from a higher consciousness level. We are in a growth and expansion period in this world like we've never seen before. And so my intention, everything I teach comes from this higher consciousness level. I don't teach quick hacks. I don't teach little tidbits that you can do because we know by now that that's not the place of the world that we are in right now. Those aren't actually working. So this is truly for the person who is awakening or is who has awakened and wants to continue on that road forward. So I go deep. And in this live today, I am absolutely going to go deep. I don't do surface level, right? I don't do corporate speak. I'm going to dive right in today. I'm going to share a lot of information with you. I'm going to keep it quite quick paced. I want you to have a breakthrough. My intention for this live today is for you to have a massive, massive breakthrough because I know what it's like to be doing all the right things and still not getting to the next level. I know how that feels. So if you need to come back and listen to this a couple of times, please do so because I am going to move quite quickly and go quite deep. I often listen to things 2 or 3, 4, 5 times sometimes for things to truly, truly land. So in today's live, I'm going to talk about why the traditional success drivers, why what you're doing right now isn't working anymore, even though it used to, right? I know that it used to. What is now working instead? And how do you actually do that? How do you actually show up in a way that really demonstrates your readiness so you are picked for that promotion, for that next level, for that next job, for that next raise, whatever it is that you're ready for. And I talk to so many people who are so incredibly talented, experienced, have such incredible results. I'm actually blown away when I work with people, the incredible results they've achieved, and yet they're struggling to get to that next level, right? And it doesn't have to be that way. So I am going to be offering you an absolute solution. And actually, you're going to love the solution because it's not about doing more. And I think there's a part of most people right now who are recognizing I can't actually do anymore. And the truth is, it's not about doing anymore. The world has completely changed. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm first going to start out by taking this to the 50,000 foot level. And I'm going to tell you why I'm going to do this first. What I see most people doing right now is they can sense and they know the world has changed. Things are different in this world, yet they are trying all the tried and true strategies that they used to try. And so, like, there's a disconnect. It's like I can see the world has changed, but I'm still trying to use all the old strategies and they're not working, right? Understandable. But then there's this gap. There's this gap. Well, what do I do instead, right? So, if we don't know what to do instead, well, the tools that we have are the old strategies, right? But the problem is they're not working anymore. So, what we have to do first and keep doing this is constantly taking a step back from the world. And I would recommend doing this at very regular intervals because we are moving at such a quick pace right now, moving at such a quick pace. stop at regular intervals and take a step back and kind of get a lay of the land. Like start to look around what's going on. And I don't mean look at the news or dial into all the social media and tell you all the little details of things that are going on. It's about going, well, like what's really going on? We've got all these little pieces. Like, what does it really mean? Right? This is about a consciousness, right? Increase. Well, what's really going on in this world? Because once we accept and see what's really going on, the strategies and the solutions need to come from there. Because what we're doing right now is we're picking solutions and strategies that worked in a different time. But we also have to see and really ground in, well, what's going on right now? Because here's the part. There there must be a level of acceptance for where we're at right now. Strategies and solutions do not appear if you are in any way in resistance to what's going on, meaning you're all charged up, like you're seeing the chaos in the world and you're seeing the uncertainty and you're getting all riled up. When that happens, solutions never appear. There's tons of brain science to back all this up. If you want to look into it and you're curious, I encourage you to do that. It's actually quite fascinating. But the way our brain works is we actually don't see solutions. So we need to come into a level of acceptance of what's going on in this world. But the really important part here, super important, is when you do this, I want you to come at it from a place of neutrality. This is so important. So it's almost like take a step back. And if you were just like observing, if you were a fly on the wall, looking at what's going on in the world, that's the place we need to come from. Because when you are in that neutral perspective, you can see things more clearly. And again, solutions and strategies are going to start to appear. There has been a lot of emotional charge over the last number of years. I don't need to tell you this. This is nothing new. And there's a time and place where we need to all process what's going on in the world. However, there's also a time where we need to come into our emotional mastery. And this is not a luxury anymore. We cannot let our emotions run us. We have to be solid and we have to go into this place of neutrality and be objective and not go into the story and not go into the chaos and tragedy of everything that's happening. Again, there's a time and place to have your compassion for the world, but we always need to be coming back to this place of neutrality. So what I'm going to do for the first few minutes here, before I dive into all the solutions and all the information I know you're dying to hear, is to talk about the 50,000 foot level. Because when I then share the solution and the strategy, it's going to land deeper for you. Okay, it's going to land much, much deeper. You're going to retain it and you're going to be able to use it in your life immediately. Okay, so if you were to think about pre-2020, the corporate system, what was the corporate system like pre-2020? Well, we all knew the rules. You could essentially get on a path in your career and you could know 5 or 10 years ago where you want to be. Like, this is my goal. And you knew what you had to do. There were certain rules. You do certain things, you say certain things, you don't say certain things. Politics were involved in that. It was a performance, right? Corporate system that was built was really a bit of a facade, a performance, but that's the way it was. That's the way the system was. And the majority of people accepted that. Just like, this is just the way it is. And I can say they accepted that because in that time, pre-2020, I was one of the people that was questioning it, okay? Going, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this, right? I was on the path to do the work that I'm doing right now. And anytime I mentioned to anybody, like, why are we doing this? The answer I always got was, that's just the way things are done. So what we have to see was there was a level of acceptance in all of this. And what there also was, when you're in this level of acceptance, there was this level of certainty, right? There was certainty in the world. You may have not loved everything you saw in the world, but you likely felt a sense of security, that there wasn't chaos. There wasn't there's a sense of predictability, right? Pre-2020. So we hit 2020. Now, I'm not going to go into everything that happened and everything that started to unfold. Again, I want to keep this high level. We all know what happened. But when 2020 hit, we know that life slowed down and people started to question, what do I really want? Is my life really working for me? Do I want to be in the office? Do I want to be in corporate? Tons of things happened, right? And people are continuing to question what they want in their lives. We are in a phase right now of massive evolution. So this growth and expansion and questioning and like thinking about what do I really want is going to continue. So that's going on and that will continue to go on. But what also happened? A lot of chaos. Okay. Again, not going to go into all of it, but just a lot of chaos. And what that has created is a lot of uncertainty, right? We can see all the systems are breaking down. The corporate system's breaking down. We know for sure. We can see it. The political system broken, economic system breaking down, healthcare system breaking down. All of these things are breaking down. Now, there's a good reason they're breaking down because they weren't working. However, at the same time, that creates a lot of uncertainty. So we have chaos, we have some uncertainty. What we're also witnessing is a lot of the leaders that perhaps we thought we could trust, or we thought they were more solid, or leadership structures that we felt confident in. What we've also realized is there's people who aren't who we thought they were, or those systems weren't who we thought they were. So this sense of like safety and just like somebody else has got this, like somebody else has got this world, that's gone. And we have to see that for what it is. And again, neutral, just like, okay, I can see that's what's going on. As a result of all of this is the level of mistrust in this world is at an all-time low. What people are doing now, whether they're conscious of it or not, is they are constantly scanning situations and people and sensing whether they can trust them or not. This is the world that we now live in. This has been created in the last 5 or 6 years. Okay? Lack of trust. Now, also throw into that a downturn in the economy. Just as if we didn't have enough, let's add something else in here. And I can tell you with 100% certainty that a lot of the layoffs we're seeing are not all a result of the economy. They're actually a result of poor leadership. And we know this. A lot of this could have been prevented with effective leadership. Because if you look back at how leaders were chosen pre-2020, it wasn't so much about, do they have values? Do they have integrity? Are they in their power, like their personal power? Do they care? It was more about, do they get results? How well are they playing the political system? And of course, we're seeing now the downside to all of that. They may have been able to drive results, but when push comes to shove, they're not really there. So now we've got this whole thing going on. Chaos, uncertainty, lack of trust, volatility, okay? And this is a vast change. This is a massive change from pre-2020, where there was this level of certainty. All you had to do was perform, really. Say the right things, have great outcomes, drive great results, and you could get ahead. And we believed in that, we accepted that, but that's not the case anymore. You cannot go through the last number of 5 or 6 years and be the same person. And that's what we need to acknowledge. Everybody has changed. We are not the same people. And remember, the corporate system is just made of people. The corporate system cannot be the same because none of us are the same. But the problem is we're going by the same rules. We're operating on the same system. So here you are now. Brilliant you, talented, experienced, you've got all the credentials, you've got all the outcomes, you've got everything, you've worked hard. And I know this, as I mentioned, the people that I work with are incredible. And I know anybody who follows me is. You've got it together. You've got everything, but you're not getting to the next level. So I'm going to explain where the hiccup is, where the misstep is, where the block is that you're not seeing, so you can blast through this today on today's call. And I'm going to go deep. So now, if we go back, we talked about the pre-2020 corporate system. What it was a performance. It was a facade. It was say what you need to say. Don't say that, say this, do this. There was this whole set of rules, but the rules were a facade. I mean, you know that. You walk into the office and you put on a mask, right? You're not the same person. But I want you to really think about this for a moment. If you're talking to your boss and you're thinking one thing, okay, you've got beliefs and thoughts and opinions on something, and you're saying something different. You're saying what you think they need to hear because you want to get the promotion, okay? Or you want to get the pay raise or what it is. What's actually happening is there is a complete disconnect between who you really are and what you're saying and what you're doing, okay? And so the signal that you're sending out, whether you're conscious of it or not, most people aren't. The signal that you're sending out is, I don't trust enough to say what I really think and really feel. I don't trust enough. Now, it doesn't matter what you're not trusting, whether you're not trusting your boss, the corporate system, yourself, I don't know, the economy, whatever it is. But whenever you don't actually say and think what's really going on inside of you, you are sending an energetic imprint, an energetic sign of lack of trust. So what's happening now, because everybody in this world is now scanning for mistrust. They are scanning for things that they can't trust anymore because that's the world we've come into. So when you go by the old rules and you say what you think you're supposed to say, because that's what you were taught, that's what we were all taught, it now sends a signal of mistrust. And so your boss, the hiring manager, whomever it is picking up on it. Now, they're not necessarily conscious of it, and I am going to suggest that most people aren't. But what they're picking up on is some sort of like something's off. It's just not right. Like it's just, there's just something not right. And so they don't advance you. They don't move you forward because they're picking up on this energy of mistrust. It can also be read as insecurity. Like I'm not secure enough in myself to be able to say what I really think. And so inadvertently, we are sending all these signals out. And this is all about energy. This is all about energy. But we're sending all this out. And here's the thing. We've always been doing this. But in the world, pre-2020, no one cared. All that people cared about really was the results. Are you going to do the job and do it really well? And can I count on you? That's all that mattered. We, as a collective, were not scanning for these kinds of things that we're scanning for right now. And again, this can be very, very subconscious. And here's the thing. What's happening, and I hear this so often, is you're not getting to where you want to go, right? You're not getting the promotion. You're like, I don't get it. I've got all the results. I'm doing absolutely everything. It's so flippin' frustrating, right? So you ask the hiring manager, maybe you ask your boss, or you're wanting feedback. Say you have an interview at a company and you ask them for feedback. Now, the person who's interviewing you or reading your resume may not have enough consciousness to even know what's going on. Again, they could just think to themselves, something feels off. Because what it really is a distortion in your energetic field, okay? But all they're really feeling is something is off. But they can't say that. They can't say that. Like the language I would use is there's a lack of coherence. The lack of coherence between who you are and who you say you are. But they don't say that. We don't speak that way. We don't talk about energy. So what are they going to tell you? They're going to give you a really logical 3D reason why you're not getting it. They're going to say, oh, you don't have quite enough experience. And you're sitting there going, like, what? What do you mean? Of course I haven't. Like, you're thinking to yourself, this is insane. You're frustrated, you're exhausted, you're like, you go out and get another, credential or a certification. I see people doing this all the time because the reason you're being told is some logical reason because they have to give you a reason. And I see so many people say, I didn't get the job and I wish these companies would give me a reason. You probably don't want their reason because their reason's actually going to throw you more off track than anything because it keeps you in a loop. So you think to yourself, oh my God, okay, that's the reason. I've got to get more experience. I've got to do more. I've got to. And that race will never end. That race will never end. They don't have the words. They don't have the consciousness to be able to tell you something is off. And even if they were to say to you, I don't trust you, you'd be like, how could you not trust me? I have all this evidence of all the amazing work I've done. You see, we're in this very strange place right now. This is just the beginning of having these conversations. If you're hearing this right now, you are on the leading edge. You are on the first to start to hear this and understand this. Because understand that the corporate system, the corporate world is full, and I mean full, of incredibly qualified, educated, talented achievers who drive amazing results. It is full. I talk to you every single day. If somebody is interviewing and they've got 100 people who are all qualified for the job, they're going to pick the person who they feel a sense of inner trust. They don't feel this distortion in them. Again, they're not going to say that. It's not like they're thinking this consciously, but it's just going to feel right. They won't know why. Something's just going to land for them. And that person actually may have less experience than you. That's the kicker. Because that is no longer the driver anymore. Now, if you're comparing two people exactly the same, meaning they're the same energetic imprint, absolutely everything's the same, but one has more experience, well, of course, that one's going to edge the other one out probably, right? But however, all of us are all over the place in terms of everything. And this is one of the great differentiators of our time right now. So what do you do? What do you do? So the solution really here is something you've likely heard before, but I'm going to explain it in a way you have likely never heard it before. I've never heard somebody explain this before in this way. Everything, and I mean everything I teach you, is because I have done it, experienced it. I grew up in a family, in an environment where it was a very disempowered, I was a people pleaser. That's the best word I'm looking for here. I grew up very much being a people pleaser. The person I am today is so different from the person I used to be. I don't have any connections with my family. They're so different from me. So when I share all these things with you, that's why I say you've likely never heard this before, because everything I share, I have learned. Yes, through courses, certifications, mentorships, but everything I have taken, I have put into practice. So what you need to do to actually land that next promotion and to stand out as that person is you need to reclaim your power. And this is something that most people are absolutely avoiding it like crazy. And I'm going to explain why you're avoiding it and why you don't need to. And actually reclaiming your power is actually one of the most amazing and beautiful experiences you can possibly ever imagine. So power is not how we've been taught. How we've been taught power is it's power over, force, control. Okay, that's not actually power. I mean, I guess it's power over, but it's not true inner power. Okay, and a lot of the power we've seen in the world is from narcissistic behavior, right? We've seen a lot of people in power positions who exhibit narcissistic behavior. Whether they're narcissist or not, whole other conversation. But that's what we've seen. And actually, a lot of that power is actually not even so much power. It's actually gone to the level of abuse. Okay, we need to see that again, just to see it. Power is actually one of the quietest, most stillest things. It is the most personal thing in the world, really. Your inner power is all about you. What your inner power is about is truly knowing who you are not, what you're available for, and what you're not available for, and leading your life, every aspect of your life, from what you know to be true about yourself. So we talked about the corporate system. This is taking off that facade. It's taking off the mask completely. We've heard the word authenticity used in the last number of years. I don't love that word because it's been so misused, so misexplained, like power, like so many concepts, right? I'm talking about power from a higher consciousness level. This is being so aware and certain of who you are. But here's the thing, we have to take steps each and every day that is in alignment with knowing who we are, who we're not, what we're available for, and what we're not available for. We actually have to do it every single day. What I see people do is they try to reclaim their power and they do something and then they don't keep going, or they try to reclaim their power in a really big step, having never taken steps before to reclaim their power, because reclaiming your power is a process. But what happens when you reclaim your power? Essentially, what you do, remember I talked about who you're presenting yourself to be and who you really are, right? What happens is you close the gap. There's this coherence that happens. Okay. So there used to be a distortion, almost like a static in your signal, because there was this space here of like, who is this person, right? What happens is you completely close that gap. All the distortion dissipates completely. And the signal that you now send out, this is all energy. The signal that you send out is, I trust myself. I am certain of myself, because you're certain of who you are. And the world is always mirroring back to you who you are being. This is quantum physics now. The world is always mirroring back to you. See, before, when you are not trusting enough to speak your truth, to say what you really think, to do what you really want to do, the world is mirroring back mistrust, right? But however, when you trust yourself and you take steps, the world is going to mirror back trust to you. So what happens is when you're speaking to your boss and you are in your power and you are speaking clearly with certainty, your boss feels that certainty. They feel trust. They don't know why, but they do, because you are emitting that frequency. This is all energy, because that is now who you've become. When you reclaim your power and you take action in resonance with you reclaiming your power, you completely change your energetic frequency. You send up a completely different signal. And what people will start to feel is your certainty in yourself, the trust in yourself, just that level of grounded stability. And you look at the world that we have right now, chaos, uncertainty, mistrust. People are looking for leaders who are so grounded and certain in who they are. Higher consciousness, yes. I'm making an assumption here of higher consciousness. And anybody who's listening to me right now is coming from that higher consciousness level. You wouldn't still be listening to me if you weren't. Quite frankly, you would have shut me off a long time ago. But this is, you are so stable and grounded in who you are, and you become magnetic because people sense they can trust you. You become the eye of the storm. But this is a very still thing. One of the things I mentor my clients through and teach them is that actually your inner power is accessed in stillness. And right now, most people who are trying to get to the next level are so busy. That's one of the way we actually give away all our power. You see, the old system, pre-2020 corporate system, taught you to give your power away. Every time you conform, every time you try to fit in, every time you say what you think you're supposed to say, you actually give away all your power. You create massive power leaks in your system. And every single time you speak your truth, you say what you really think. And this is also keeping your commitments to yourself in a big way. You actually build up that power and people feel it. And again, they don't know why. The same reason they don't know why they don't trust you or why they don't feel like you're ready or you're not the right person, even though on paper you are. The same reason they don't think you're qualified in some way is now the same way they don't really understand why. They just trust you. Like they just trust you. And you're not having to convince them. There's a big difference between proving and constantly proving you can get the job done and proving yourself and proving your worth. The difference between that and just being certain, this is the value I can create, this is the value I will create, and I can demonstrate to you the value I will create. But I'm not going to sit here and beg and plead and grovel and just, oh, please hire me. I'll do anything. I'll work 80 hours a week. But that's what we're doing. The old system taught you to do that, right? And just think about it. Imagine now, like, and you know this has happened, where you've walked into a retail store and somebody's walked up to you, a salesperson's walked up to you, and you just kind of get a weird vibe, right? This is all just like vibes, to use that language. And they start talking to you, you're like, I'm not hitting it with this person, right? And they keep talking to you. And now they've introduced a product to you. And it doesn't really matter what they say. You're just like, I don't even care if it's the best product in the world. I'm not vibing with this person. Some reason I don't trust them. And actually, the more they try to convince you of it, the more you're in resistance. That salesperson's not in their power. They may actually have the best product, but you'll never know because their vibe has turned you off. This is what we're doing. So I want you to turn this around. This is the answer. And the great thing about this is it does take less work. Because right now you're being told you need to do more. And what I'm telling you is you actually don't need to do more. However, there needs to be a shift and a focus. What I also see with a lot of people is they come into their power and they try it once or twice and it feels uncomfortable and they wobble in it. So they do something and like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And they kind of like their nervous system freaks out. It's like anything. You go to the gym for the very first time of lifting weights, your muscles shake. They do. They shake and they shake for a while. They shake for the first number of months you're doing something. But what happens is you keep doing it and you stabilize. This is the actual work that needs to be done right now, is actually embodying your power, but you need to stabilize in it. And there's a whole process to this, right? But then once you do that, you become so certain and so grounded, everything becomes easier and people are drawn to you. I can tell you right now, I have the coolest experiences happen in my life because I am so grounded and stable. I go out in public, people are so nice to me. I get compliments all the time. I don't think there's a time I can go out where I don't receive a compliment. People open doors for me. The most incredible experiences happen. That's just one of the ways life starts to shift when you come into your power, because in a world right now of chaos and uncertainty and mistrust, somebody who is in their power, who knows who they are and so secure in who they are, becomes the person that everyone wants to be around. So what you can start doing today, I said there's something you can start doing today. And I've got an opportunity I want to mention again at the end here if you're really, really ready to go to the next level. But I have something for you if you're just like, okay, I want to try this out a little bit. What I would highly recommend you do is get really clear on who you are not, what you're available for and what you're not available. And Start to really look at those things and look at where in your life you are not acting upon those things. Where are you dishonoring that list? Where are you going against your truth? Because what you'll start to notice is there's very, very likely lots of areas where you are not in alignment, you are not in congruence. There's that level of coherence, okay? Coherence. You will start to notice where you are out and start to take action, okay? Start to now go, okay, this is who I am. This is who I am. So how do I now show up in life? How do I respond? How do I interact with people? Start doing that. However, if you're like, okay, I'm so here with you and you're ready to go to the next level, I'm doing something I haven't done in a number of years, and that is I am seeing there are so many people who are so ready to go to the next level. So I'm actually opening up my calendar for 5 spots only. This is very limited, 5 spots only of a free 30-minute diagnostic call where I'm going to help you dial in exactly where you're giving away your power. You know that question? Why didn't I get the job? Why am I not getting it? I'm going to dial into exactly why you're not getting it. I'm going to identify that one place so you can start to make the shift. Okay, so this is very much a diagnostic call, okay? Going to identify it for you. So if you are interested, what I'm going to do is after this live, I'm going to post down below. There's an application process because there is only 5 spots. There's going to be an application process. Just fill out the application. It's pretty quick. I think it's about 4 or 5 questions or 3 or 4 questions to fill out. All you have to do is fill it out. I will reach out to you personally if you are chosen for that spot, and we will get that call booked. Again, you can sense with me, I move fast and I move deep. So this is very much going to be a deep dive. The more information on the application you can give me, the better. The more I can understand where you're at. So if you are ready, you're like, I need to know where I'm out. Show me where I'm out. I encourage you to fill out that application. Again, 5 spots. And I don't know when I'll be doing this again. If it's, if I love doing it and it's, it's great, I may do it again, but I can't say right now. We're going to see how this is going to go. So beautiful soul. I hope this was super, super powerful for you. I hope that you have had a massive breakthrough, and I encourage you to sit with this. This is a big, big change that I'm talking about. This is big, this is huge, and that's okay. But I also know that this will unlock your future. It will unlock everything for you moving forward. All right, beautiful soul. I'll talk to you soon.